Hello, welcome to the training presentation of how to identify signs of senior abuse. It is important to us that at SeniorAge, our patrons feel safe in our care. We will go through the different types of different abuse, what signs to look for, and how to help our seniors if they are in a situation where they are being abused. Senior abuse is an intentional act or failure to act by a caregiver or another person in a relationship involving the expectation of trust that causes or creates a risk of harm to an older adult who is 60 or older. Here are some facts to understand just how prevalent abuse to seniors is in our society and how likely that one of our seniors may be facing some form of abuse. First, 1 in 10 Americans over the age of 60 experience some form of abuse, but only 1 in 14 cases of abuse are actually reported to the authorities. 60% of senior abuse and neglect is perpetrated by a family member, and 2/3 of perpetrators are adult children of those seniors or spouses of the senior that is being abused. Senior abuse is 4 times prevalent as child abuse. Victims of elder abuse are 300% more likely to die prematurely, so it is significant in knowing the signs and reporting it, which we will go over later in this presentation. And the average age of seniors who are abused are around 77 to 78 years old. Some seniors are more susceptible to abuse than others. For instance, those who suffer from social isolation or mental impairment, such as dementia or Alzheimer's disease, are more susceptible to abuse. It is important to note that half of seniors with dementia experience some form of abuse or neglect, and interpersonal violence occurs at disproportionately higher rates among adults with disabilities. Now we are going to discuss the different types of senior abuse. First is physical abuse, then emotional abuse, sexual abuse, neglect, and financial abuse or exploitation. Physical abuse is the intentional use of physical force that results in acute or chronic illness, body injury, physical pain, functional impairment, distress, or even death. Actions of physical abuse may include striking, hitting, beating, scratching, biting, choking, suffocation, pushing, shaking, slapping, kicking, pinching, and even burning. Warning signs for physical abuse may include if the senior has bruises, pressure marks, broken bones, abrasions, or burns. The next form of abuse we are going to discuss is emotional abuse. Emotional abuse is the verbal or nonverbal behavior that results in the infliction on mental pain, fear, or distress. Examples include behaviors intended to humiliate, threaten, isolate, or control the senior. Some warning signs of emotional abuse you should look for if you suspect a senior is being emotionally or verbally abused may include that the senior may avoid eye contact, have low self-esteem, appears shyer than they used to be, seem disturbed, scared, or hopeless, may attempt to hurt others or engage in self-injurious behavior, may have acute mood swings, may have changes in eating or sleeping patterns. The next form of abuse we are going to discuss is sexual abuse. Sexual abuse of an elder is a forced or unwanted sexual interaction, including touching or non-touching acts of any kind towards a senior who is not competent to give informed approval. If you suspect that one of our seniors is being sexually abused, here are some things you should look for. The senior may sustain a pelvic injury, have problems walking or sitting, developing a sexually transmitted disease. They have signs of post-traumatic stress disorder. They may have symptoms of agitation. They may be socially or emotionally withdrawn from others, or they may be engaging in inappropriate, unusual, or aggressive sexual activities. The next form of abuse we are going to discuss is financial abuse or exploitation. Financial abuse is the illegal, unauthorized, or improper use of an older individual's resources by a caregiver or another person in a trusting relationship for the benefit of someone other than the senior. This includes depriving a senior of rightful access to information about their own personal benefits, resources, their belongings, or their assets. If one of our seniors is being financially abused or exploited, the behaviors of the abuser may include forging documents, misusing or stealing money or possessions of the senior, coercing or deceiving the senior to surrender finances or their property, or the abuser improperly using guardianship or their power of attorney. If you suspect that one of our seniors is being financially abused, here are some of the things you should look for. The senior may have sudden changes in their financial situation. They may have unpaid bills or disruptions of service, like electricity or cable. Their living situation may not reflect their financial circumstances, or the senior does not know or understand their own financial situation. Senior financial abuse is very common in our country. Estimates of senior financial abuse and fraud cost American seniors from $2.9 billion to $36.5 billion each year, and over 500,000 senior Americans suffer from financial abuse annually, but only 1 in 25 cases of financial abuse or exploitation are reported. The next form of abuse we are going to discuss is neglect. Neglect is the failure by a caregiver or another responsible person to protect a senior from harm, or the failure to meet needs for the senior, which results in a serious risk of compromised health and safety. Examples of neglect include the caregiver not providing adequate nutrition, hygiene, clothing, shelter, or access to necessary health care, or the failure to prevent exposure to unsafe activities and environments. If you suspect one of our seniors is being neglected, here are some signs you should look for. The senior may have bed sores, unattended medical needs, poor hygiene, or an unusual weight loss. If you suspect that a senior is being abused, please report it to your supervisor and contact the State Elder Abuse Hotline at 800-392-0210, or you can fill out an online reporting form at the following website. Every employee and volunteer at SeniorAge is a mandated reporter. This means that you must report any knowledge or suspicion of a person over 60 years old being in danger of abuse, neglect, exploitation, or imminent danger, whether suspected at the hands of another person or through self-harm. This responsibility also carries outside of work hours. Any calls made to the hotline must be recorded in Aging IS by administrators or care coordinators. Thank you for joining our training today and making our agency better. Thank you for all that you do.